Hi there, it's Elaine Lindsay of True Social Media, and I'm your host for the Business Banter Plus TV show. I'm very excited to be here with you today with my guest, Laura Rubinstein. Hi,
Hi.
it's awesome to have you here. I'm, as everyone knows, I'm at the corner of search and social is where you always find me. And we're changing up the show a little bit because we're going to make sure that we're giving out even bigger and better business information, tips about the passions that my guests have for their businesses and how they function in the online space. So that's about me. Now let's talk about my incredible guest. Laura is the co-founder of the Social Buzz Club, and she's an author of the first book, I believe, is Appreciation Marketing Strategies, and she created the social media blast off system. She won the Small Business Influencer Champion Award in 2013, and her latest book, which is going to be available. We'll have links on the show for you to purchase. It is Social Media Myths Busted, the Small Business Guide to Online Revenue. Woohoo! It topped the charts on Amazon. I'm very honored to say I have a little blurb in there, so that was really, really cool to be part of the book. Laura, her articles and her interviews have been featured on all kinds of blog talk radio, in lots of social media magazines. I think it's KFWB Business Rockstars. I think I got that one right. And
Yep.
VIV Magazine, as well as like a ton more. But here's the really cool thing. Laura has a background in hypnotherapy, spiritual counseling, and this one should blow you away. She has a BS in biomedical engineering from Vanderbilt. I mean, really, take that all in. This is one super talented human being we have in front of us. And I really believe that Laura is uniquely suited to help business owners skyrocket their bottom line using relationship marketing and social media strategies, which is what Laura does. I am so happy to introduce you to Laura. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to be honored like you just did. It makes me take a look at who I am, and I just keep going, moving forward, and doing what serves best business. And that champion award that I won in 2013, it was really, I took it very seriously because it was really an acknowledgement of the 20 some odd years that I've been working in dedicated to the entrepreneur, rising entrepreneur, and small business owner.
See, that's really interesting to me, and I think I'd like you to expand on that because I know that your heart is very much in the entrepreneurial space, and you have a special feeling for like startups and helping young business.
hmm Startups and leaders, like thought
Yeah,
leaders. A
yeah.
lot of they're not new in the work. They're not young people necessarily, but they're bringing their wisdom of the years newly into the world, and bringing that out is, I usually find myself aligning very deeply with the people I work with, and not only giving them strategies, but actually digging in and giving them resources, or going above and beyond to connect them to somebody that they need to know. Because, like you said, I have this diverse background. I know a lot of different people, from corporate engineering analytical people to creative spiritual people. So I love just aligning with people where they're at, and then just expanding their sphere of influence that much more. So they
That's
can
so
get
well
their
said.
mhm, so they can get their message out in a big way. And I did it well before social media. So I'm a marketer first, and a heart-centered marketer first, relationship based, like you said, and a social media marketer second.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really a good point, and it's important to stress that, yeah, you were a marketer long before there was social media. So it's really, I think it's interesting to see in the space that you are so heart centered, and you are definitely all about leadership, which is awesome. And the fact is that wealth of knowledge in all those other areas really does make you unique.
It's interesting. I've worked with businesses anywhere from construction to therapists, to artists, and to, Kickstarter startups, to, online marketers. And, having that diverse background, I can bring bits and pieces from each world. And I have a huge background in the financial services on top of all that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what that was that not sort of your leaning early? Social media was financial and small business in
Well,
that arena?
yes and no. In the financial services world, I was coaching top financial advisors in marketing since 2000,
Oh,
and I worked in corporate for a large financial services company in the 90s, and so I can speak the language. I was licensed myself, and all the way up until 2008, I was doing all these relationship-based marketing strategies without social media, mind you, helping advisors grow their practices like to 80 million in assets under management in one quarter. And that's, for anybody who knows that, that's a lot. So
yeah,
I was helping with just relationship-based marketing strategies, doing that with individual advisors. And then the market crashed, right? But
yeah,
what people don't realize is what was also happening at that time was something very exciting. That was where the critical mass of social media, and like Facebook and LinkedIn, was like coming to its tipping point, where it got all this millions of people online. And that's when the marketers started working it.
yeah,
And that's when I started getting interested. All of a sudden I had a lot more time as well. And actually, I was doing it in 2007. I was on LinkedIn maybe in 2005, didn't do anything with it.
yeah,
Probably a lot of you can relate to that.
yeah,
But, you know, between 2005 and 2007, there was this interest. And in 2007, I launched my feminine power cards, and I did it on social media.
yeah,
So I actually hired Mari Smith to help me at that
yeah,
time.
yeah,
That's when she was just getting started, and she's a good friend of mine, so both of ours.
yeah,
And that's when I started learning about it, and then subsequently went through, the mentoring program, and have been learning ever since. And you have been
yeah,
too, I know. So that's a little history. And it turns out that the financial world is so regulated that there's a lot less they can do on social media. Though with that knowledge, the clients that I still was working with and am working with, I do bring to the table what I can with social media. They can do some, but it's a lot less than what most business can do. So I work a lot with other kinds of business as well now.
yeah. I realized that my first forays into HR in the States, and speaking about specifically Google Plus and social media and search, I came up against the fact that there's a lot more to do with compliance in America
Yes,
than we even have here. And
really.
yes, financial institutions, absolutely, their hands are very tied. I think specifically we're more bank centered in Canada because
Mm-hmm.
they're so regulated, and it's not, there's not a lot of that private enterprise per se.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, compliance is a big thing for insurance and for HR. So everybody's come, I think, since 2011, when you began Social Buzz Club. Things have changed a lot too. So you're probably seeing a bit of a resurgence in financial industry, as I'm seeing more HR people and certainly more insurance based, that the bigger companies are understanding that the compliance cannot take precedence over the relationship.
Mm. Yeah, they're embracing it more. They're making ways to make it compliant, shall we
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
They're pre-approving posts for advisors so that advisors can go out and share that content, and they're more clear on what they can and can't do. So they're kind of being, forced by culture, like you said,
Yeah.
which is a relationship culture, to do more. It's still very regulated, but
Oh, absolutely.
it always was with marketing. We called the compliance department the anti-marketing department,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry if
Yeah.
anybody's watching who's in compliance, but that's your job, is to make sure that the brands are fairly represented in compliant, which
Absolutely.
sometimes puts a hindrance on some good things we can do in the world. But there are not workarounds, but there are things to do that if you
Yeah.
want to take advantage of the social platforms, you can do. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, in saying that, just the past 2 years, even 2013, when um,
Yeah.
search was changing and more about social media was actually having an impact in your visibility online. I think that's when a lot of the big corporations and others had to realize that as much as there is compliance, you also have to go with the times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's a delicate balance, and they'll continue to evolve it. Everything, one thing about social media is for sure, change is inevitable and happening on a daily basis, and that's what we do when we spend the hours we do online, so our clients don't have to.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was really well said. So, with that in mind, I found out something last week that was actually a little bit mind bending. It's in social media. We aren't always necessarily dealing with our clients' websites and or their blogs, but Twitter, as of I think it was last week, the stats came out that Twitter is 80% mobile. Eighty
Wow,
percent of all interaction on Twitter is mobile. Which, when you think
fascinating.
about it, yeah, it's like, wow. Where do you see the mobile component, or where do you see us heading in 2016? What do you think is going to be sort of the forefront of the trending for next
Hmm.
year?
Well, I have a feeling that statistic has a lot to do with both the younger um, adults being so mobile centric
Yeah,
and non-verbal. They want to be typing. They want to be, I should say typing, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
they type on
It's a
mobile.
thumb thing.
So, or, for me, it's this.
Yeah.
But I have not mastered the thumbing on
Oh, no, no, I
one
can't
day.
type. So
Yeah, I can type. I prefer typing, but with that, I think that all the platforms are getting very mobile friendly. I think that they're also getting very visual friendly, which we've seen in the last 2 years as well. The video content, and now the Meerkat and the Periscopes and Vine and Instagram with videos, and people want to be entertained. I think it's very entertainment centric. So uh, now, if a brand, somebody's listening to it, they have a small business, they say, my business is not about entertaining. Well, I beg to differ. If
yeah,
you're in business and you want to get clients, you are either, you've got to go for doing sales. And the best way to do sales is to be interesting and interested, and that's a form of entertainment. So it doesn't mean you have to be an actor, hire actors and do all sorts of fancy animations or whatever, but it's about, what we're learning today is a lot through trial and error.
yeah, yeah,
Another word for that is split testing in the online marketing world. You
yeah.
put up a page that looks like this, and you change one thing on the page, and all of a sudden you know which is being more responded to. And every market's different. And by the way, every market changes. So you
Yeah.
can't rest on your laurels. And that's why relationship building is never going to go out of style. If
So
there's
true.
one thing that we can count on, because it's one thing I don't know how to predict. I'm not a futurist. It's
Yeah,
really hard for me to do, but get better at building relationships.
yeah.
That's the bottom line.
That's so true, and I think we see here in Canada, and you probably see it in the States as well. But a lot of the big providers of services like cable and smartphones and what have you, for a long time they lost sight of how important their customers were. Not the new customers, the customers they already had. And the idea of relationship marketing for a lot of them seemed to just not compute at all, because it seemed to be the farthest thing from a lot of their minds was actually paying attention to the customers you have. That's something I think that social media and having good strategies working with relationship marketing really gives you the ability to, recognize and appreciate the customers you already have.
Hmm. Absolutely. And cable companies are kind of sitting scared. They've been charging a lot for their services, and now with everything going on demand with Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and Vudu and
Yeah,
who knows what else is out there, their businesses are going to shrink.
yeah,
And if they play their cards right and build relationships, and also what building relationships, the power of that is also modifying your product mix
yeah, yeah,
for the market. That if you want to keep that relationship, you have to. It's not like saying, "Hey, I love you, I love you, I love you. Here's this, this, and this." That's one thing. You can go so far. I saw Bally's Fitness do that. They kept lowering my annual membership, hoping I'd renew, hoping I'd renew, hoping I'd renew, and then they eventually went out of business.
because they weren't
Um,
offering anything else, right?
Well, I don't know their business model. I don't know why. All I know is they went out of business, and they really didn't. Yeah, they didn't modify. The club wasn't any nicer. They didn't put clubs in other areas. They didn't survey their clients. But I walked into Costco, and you know how they have the vendors there from like DirecTV, and I said, he's like, "Do you have DirecTV?" I said, "No." I said, "But if DirecTV were to offer me this one station, I would buy it.
Yeah,
But I don't want to pay $107 a month just to get one
for one.
station."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I said these two stations. I'll take those two because I can get everything else by my antenna. I use Netflix. I don't need, but these two stations would be nice to have. And if they're smart, I mean, they evolved their product mix, and they know that the market's moving to on demand. They'll do an a la carte type offering. I
yeah.
don't know how feasible it is in their infrastructure, but it can't be that hard.
Yeah, and I think they probably have to, and because we're seeing more and more up here of people, they don't just have Netflix, they have Hulu, they have like whatever else is out there. People want to have that option because there are bits and pieces of each piece that they really want to take advantage of. They don't want the whole thing. Like, for instance, a cable package where you get a whole pile of channels and whether you use them or not is irrelevant to what you pay.
Yep. Yep. So I would encourage everyone to get very creative in their first in their relationship building,
Yes.
listening to their market, and second in how they modify their offerings. And maybe there's something you can do rinse and repeat over and over again, but at some point you're going to want to modify it, freshen it up, bring something else out. You could expand your markets as well. So as marketers, we have to think of everything from who the market is, how they like to engage, what content they respond to, and what they buy ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of video, you could be a plumber.
Yeah.
Okay. And there is, I'd have to look it up, but there is a plumber, and I don't think he's in North America, but he does videos that are sort of short and catchy and explain kind of what could go wrong or what has gone wrong for someone and easy ways to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge. So
It's awesome.
you take from that, if even a plumber can find a way to use video. You were saying it's is the next thing in marketing, and it is entertainment. But something else people need to think about is the fact that you're trying to hit on as many senses as humanly possible.
Mm.
And video speaks to, other than the fact that we can't smell it, and everything else, you're being able to connect. You can, you can see and feel the emotions that people have in the video. You can see them, you can hear them. People add music and what have you. So you are getting, more and more of your senses are being satiated, if you will, with what we're putting out there.
Yeah, it's so interesting you bring it up. Yesterday, I walked into my dentist's office, and I opened the door, and there was this black blanket in front of me, and there was a sign saying "filming," and I was like, "What do I do now? I'm here to get my teeth cleaned." And luckily they saw my feet underneath the blanket that was hanging, and they're like, "Oh, come in, come in, come in." So, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to do a testimonial?" And I adore my dentist. He does relationship building, right? And he does his modifications of whatever he's perfected. He's always improving his practice and being very client-centered. And so I wasn't really camera ready or anything, but luckily I had a webinar in the morning, so I wasn't unprepared. But I just said, sure, I'd be happy to. I am a huge fan of yours, and you've totally revolutionized dentistry in my world. And I've been to a lot of dentists in my lifetime because I keep wanting to find one as good as the one I had that I grew up with. And you far surpassed it with the state-of-the-art technology, to having what they call a relaxation room with a massage chair in it. And
wow.
Dim lights, and they play very kind of ethereal or new age kind of music in the office. They have TVs on the ceiling when you lean back, and headset you can put on to watch. Wow. And oh, by the way, that's everything but the dental work. And then the dental work is state of the art. I can get a crown done in the same day, no temporaries.
Wow.
They 3D print them, and they are perfectionists. He won't let me go until it's perfect,
Wow.
And so as it turned out, yesterday I got my teeth cleaned, came home, bit into a power bar, and 2 of my crowns cracked.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird. And it wasn't their fault. It was old crowns. And maybe the agitation from getting them clean kind of made those weak spots in them more prominent, but it really wasn't their fault. So I called them right up. It was almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and they said, "Come back in right now. Come right back." And I'm like, okay. They were like wanting to take care of me. So I walked in, and they're like, oh, what happened? And I explained, and then they're like, okay, the doctor will take a look at you. And he's like, bonded me back up. He's like, well, he gave me a choice of how do I want to do this. He's like, do you want me to prep the crowns now, prep the tooth and put temporaries in? I'm like, no. Do you have another option? And he's like, yeah, we can just put some bonding in, and you can have it all done next week if you'd like. And I'm like, yep, let's do that option. And not only that, they're all communicating. They're all on these little comms that are in their ears, and they're constantly talking to each other throughout the office, and it's very peaceful in there. And they're also positive. And so it's everything from the attitude of the team, the cohesion of the team, to the technology and knowledge of the doctors, and the little amenities they provide.
Yeah.
And for doing the testimonial, they sent me home with a gift bag. Like, talk about customer appreciation.
Yeah.
Of a lot of value.
I mean, the timing couldn't be better for explaining relationship marketing. Have you being able to give us that story. Here's a dentist. Okay, I mean, not what people think of as traditionally people being on social media. A lot of people don't consider that. I have a chiropractor who's very big on social and totally gets it. And there's a whole group of chiropractors who do video, and they do summits, and they really work to make sure that they are building and retaining the relationships with the clients that they have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what you can tell that's what my dentist is up to.
Oh
And
God, yeah.
he's putting this video up for his website, and he's got, little cards in his office that welcome people to write reviews for him. And, there's just, I can't say enough good things about him and the good work he's doing. And I trust it's working for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, he's not my client yet, but,
Give him a little shout out. You
yeah,
want to name the
Dr.
gym.
Jeff Gray in La Mesa, California, San Diego area is the guy to go to. If you value your teeth, man, and you want to have a great, like I actually find coming to the dentist fun by
Wow.
going to Dr. Jeff's office, and
That
he introduces himself as Jeff.
see that, yeah, that's really nice.
Like,
And see, that's a whole the whole attitude, it puts it together. And that's not something you can fake,
correct. No,
like
yeah.
putting that much effort into it means he really does care, and he's
Mhm.
obviously put together a team who understand that and feel that way as well, which is really incredible. And from my perspective on the search side, there are certain things that one has to do differently when you want to make sure you're getting all the organic local search. And he's hitting all the nails right on the head.
Mhm.
Getting those reviews. Oh my God, that's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
He's good. So not only is he a good dentist, but he's a good presence, I guess, online, offline, it does it right. So great. Yeah. And it's a perfect example of relationship marketing, relationship building. I feel like when I call the office, people are happy to hear from me. And that's, like, oh, hi, Laura, that's just that little thing. If you changed when you answer the phone, oh, hi, how are you? Great to hear from you. That happy tone instead of hi, like I have some friends who answer the phone, hello. Now, they don't realize that just that little edge in there is a
Yeah.
little jarring to someone.
Well, yeah,
So,
because it's cold.
yeah, it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to call you. You sound really busy and stressed,
Yeah.
or is it me? You're not happy to hear from me because you could probably see it was me on your phone
Yeah. Yeah.
nowadays.
These are all things, all the little things that go through our head for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, that little tweak of making sure that you answer the phone in an upbeat, inviting manner, it can make
Huge.
a huge difference. Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely huge. So this is, yeah, this is my passion, is to have business owners make those little tweaks, online, offline, that make a huge difference in their business. And so it doesn't have to be a daunting task. It could mean hiring a video guy like my dentist did. It could be doing a hangout like you could produce or I
yeah,
could produce, or coming on a social buzz club. If you're
yeah.
an online, if you've got valuable information to offer it. Be generous.
Yes, yes,
And I think that that's the key to business now, is generosity. And then, I love the corner of search and social. So make sure you're optimized and generous and clear on what you offer,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
have a strategy, have a funnel for it, a system. Take people through the process. Some people like to call it the client journey.
Yeah,
What journey are you going to take your clients on today? An average, from how are you going to build that relationship? Maybe it's the client relationship journey. How are they going to
absolutely.
experience you over time? And putting together that plan is where the creative juices come out, and where you get to really fall in love with your business again. Because
Yeah,
who wouldn't want to have a great relationship with their clients?
with every client, absolutely. And something you said there, and I think that often people will say, oh, all those extra things. People say, oh, I don't want to spend that much time on social media, or what if I have to do one more thing and one more thing? I bet if you talk, yes, there you go. There you go. Social
That's
media,
why that's why I wrote the book.
absolutely. Absolutely. But also, I bet you Dr. Jeff and my group of chiropractors would all say the exact same thing, that it actually doesn't take them any more time, because they don't think of it as extra pieces. It's just part of what they do.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And they're always looking to tweak it and do something more, and they're looking to reach a certain goal or create a new goal,
And be of service.
and yeah, do their work bigger, better, you know,
Yeah.
and maintain their great clients too. I mean, I walked out of that office yesterday with $100 gift bag. You know, it's like, I think I'll be staying, you know.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
Yeah. And you know, for something, and you didn't go into doing the testimonial because of the gift bag.
I didn't know they were going to give me a gift at all.
Exactly.
I volunteered because I think they're great. He does it right.
Yeah. And that's another little nugget you've just put out there. Okay. It's, if you're going to give added value, if you're going to be generous with what you know and what you have, don't make it overly strategic. It's not tit for tat. It's not,
Yep.
you know, you do this and I'll do that and we have to keep a balance sheet. That's not how it works. And I realize that's probably more heart-centered marketing. It's not just relationship marketing. But
And it's trust in that law of what goes around comes around.
yeah.
The golden rule, you know, what
Well,
you
I
sow,
think,
you reap.
yeah, I think even corporations are getting it. I think, you know, look at all the corporations out there now, like, you know, Amazon for one, and Zappos, and what is it, Morton's Steakhouse, and Southwest Airlines, and they understand. And there's a couple of the hotel chains that, um, I'm not sure which hotel chain it is, but I know when they do a job fair, they treat the people that come to the job fair like their hotel guests.
Mm,
And they set them up with like tea and coffee and a little bite, or what have you. And they're treated, you know, until they go into their interview and what have you. And I remember reading about this, and somebody was being interviewed about it. And they said, like, why would you do that? And they said, you could talk to the bellboys, you could talk to the valets or the ladies who clean the rooms. They said, we're valued for what we do, and we treat our clients the way we get treated, and we
mm.
understand what that is. So, you know, that's another piece of it as well. If you look to building a relationship with your clients and think of how you would like to be treated if the shoe were on the other foot, I think that's a really good rule of thumb, if you will.
Yep. So, yeah. And then it's also to remember that how you think is not how your customer always thinks. You have the business to think about and the profitability to think about. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about what they want and what they need and the challenges that they have in their lives. And your product or service may solve part of it, but there's a whole lot of other stuff going on in their lives.
Yeah.
And so we have to just keep that in mind. And sometimes, you know, your business is a fit or it's not. Your solution is the right or the wrong one, or not the right now.
Yes. Yes. And that's absolutely true.
And
And
that's why consistency in marketing is important.
yeah, yeah. But it also goes along actually with what I said about putting yourself in their place,
Yep.
because we all know that we're larger than what we do. We have more going on at any one time. So, you know, taking that sort of understanding how you would feel, because yeah, if I can have you, you know, solve a social media problem for me, that's great, but I may still have to deal with, you know, the family emergency that's also happening at the same time, or the
Right.
fact that my vehicle won't start, or you know, something along those lines.
Right. And if we can make people's lives easier in one area, that's huge.
Yeah. And
It's huge.
again, it comes back to service.
Yep. It's all about that, isn't it?
Yeah, we're all in service to each other. So
Amen.
yeah, amen to that for sure. So one thing that I find interesting, you're a transplant from the East Coast
To the West
to
Coast.
the
Hmm.
West Coast. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Strictly for the weather?
Primarily, there's no accident I'm here in San Diego. It's maybe fortuitous and partially by choice. Um, I grew up in New Jersey, and
Mhm.
my first job out of college landed me in LA, and I loved the Southern California. I just fit. I just fit in. I went to school in the South, as you know, at Vanderbilt,
Yeah,
and it took me about 2 years to fit in, feel like I could fit in there. And when I came, because there was a lot of culture shock, and I learned a
yeah,
ton, and it was great. It was really great for me, personal growth wise. When I came to the West Coast, there was no big transition like that. It
yeah,
was just like I slot right in, and I never liked the cold weather. And on the East Coast, I also had allergies in the summer, and I didn't have allergies out here.
ah,
So I really fit in. I like the holistic thinking of some of the
yeah,
communities out here, and so I just resonated on many, many levels. And but I did miss family. Family is one of my highest values. So how did I reconcile that? I reconciled that by moving closer to some cousins that I adore and live down here in San Diego.
yeah. Oh, see
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So
It's
that's
it's funny. I have to say, like I've known you for years now, but I didn't know right away. Like I just assumed you were a Californian.
thanks. Not native, but in my heart for
In
sure.
your
And
heart, yeah,
you know, there are people who tell me, and it depends if I've been to the East Coast more recently or not, or what stage I'm in my life. They're like, "Where are you from?" And,
yeah.
you can tell you're actually not from Southern California or whatever. And I'm like, "Yeah, you can take the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Jersey out of
Oh,
the
and there's
girl."
nothing wrong with New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I lost the
Oh,
accent in,
yeah.
in Vanderbilt. That went away when someone called me a damn Yankee.
Oh,
So I no longer talk and eat chocolate and have
you don't
coffee.
have coffee? You don't
No,
have
we
your
don't. We don't coffee. However, when I go back east, it all comes back a little
coffee.
bit. So,
I have other friends from New Jersey, and yeah, when they've been home for a week or two, the next week or so, it takes a little bit to leave. It's the same, I suppose, wherever you come from. If you have an accent and you've moved somewhere else for a long time, you
hmm
only sort of pick it up when you go home.
got to hang out with you and some of your Canadian friends because I like the. This is not really a strong accent, but there's those few little words and phrases and stuff.
Yeah, it's
Really
funny. People
fun.
say that, and often, people will joke around in hangouts about us Canadians saying "a boot." We don't say that. I don't understand. I get the A thing. I totally get it. The A thing because people do
It's not
say
a
that.
boot. It's a different. It's not about.
It's
How do you
about
say it? About?
about
There's
yeah,
a shortened.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because yeah, like I mean, there are different dialects everywhere, and things change. One thing I never understood, and you're from New Jersey, maybe you can help me. That area of the East Coast, why do they remove the T's that are in the last syllables of words?
Like, give me an example.
Manhattan, Manhattan, like the T's
Manhattan.
gone.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Manhattan.
yeah,
Manhattan. Too many. It's
Manhattan.
we're fast. Manhattan.
Yeah,
Come to Manhattan.
thank you. That's it. Okay. See, I've learned something.
Manhattan. It's just too
Manhattan.
many
Yes. I suppose yeah,
syllables.
and my background's Brit, so I don't talk exactly like all the Canadians either. They think I talk a tad odd. Maybe that's it. We tend to enunciate a little more.
Yeah,
But thank you. That's the first time I got an answer that actually made sense to me. Yeah.
it's Manhattan. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
why bother with the T's in there? They're in there.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, for the longest time, I didn't know the word drawer had an R at the end, ER at the end. I thought it was drawer.
Oh, really?
Don't
Yeah.
get it out of
Yeah.
the drawer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
DRAW.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't know it had an ER
yeah,
at
it's
the
like our friend in Boston. Okay. I mean, they pack the cat in the ad.
end.
Yeah, there's no RK. It's just ah. Ah. It's cute. It's very cute. I'm not knocking it. I think it's adorable. But yeah, that was a little off topic. Drawing us back in to what we talked about, and I think part of us just talking here, I want that to give people a sense of that's kind of part of relationship marketing is building a relationship. It's not just the nuts and bolts. There have to be other little bits that allow you, to stitch that relationship together
Hmm.
with your customers.
I think big brands are starting to do that too, like you said. And some ways, I've seen like Clorox has a stain app, and
Yeah.
the stains, how to get the stains out don't always involve Clorox.
No, no, they
Right.
don't.
So they're weaving together, like you say, the bits of other things. Um, Hilton looks for on Twitter questions about the areas where Hiltons are in, like in Long Island, and somebody saying, "Does anybody know a good pizza place in Long Island or this part of Long Island?"
Yeah.
And Hilton helps. I think they have a Twitter
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Hilton helps goes, "Hey, you guys should check out this pizza place. It's not related to their business at all, but guess what?
It's
Hilton
value
helps.
added. Yeah.
It's a branding thing. It's a relationship building thing, and it's a visibility grow. And it's a positive, like you were saying, building that positive reputation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I want people to understand, because I've had people say, wow, that's really contrived. Like if you're going to think about all those other things, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about really honestly wanting to do the best you can for your consumer, your customer, your client, whatever you call them, wanting to just do the best you can in whatever area that may be.
With the resources you have at hand.
Exactly. Oh, so well put. So well put. Because, quite honestly, sometimes, and I know even, people who work at Tim Hortons or in the States, what Denny's or what have you, there's always times where you can go that little extra bit. Somebody comes into a coffee shop or a Denny's with a crying child, and the waitress takes an extra few minutes to amuse the child so the people can eat their dinner. That's not part of her job, but she did it because she respects her clients. And as much as that's very far away from what we do, I think it's a good example because it is so not involving what she's doing.
And the more people who do that, the more our world changes.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to inspire everybody who's listening to pay it forward, do something that just makes sense. Have somebody's back who you don't know.
Yeah.
They drop their coat on the floor, you see it, the credit card, you see it, go and run the extra 3 steps to tap them on the shoulder and say, I think you dropped this.
Yeah.
Let's have each other's back. What kind of a world would that create? Because they'll do that for somebody else if you do it. Clean up the bathroom a little bit where if you see something on the floor, pick it up, and put it in the waste can. And I was hiking the other day in Hawaii and we were with a local person and she started picking up the trash along the
Yeah.
trail. I'm like, that is so cool, like having respect for yourself and others and just making the world a better place, one small random act of kindness at a time.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny you say that. A nod to my best friend who I lost in 2010. We used to go. She didn't drive, so wherever we went, I drove, and we would go to the gym, and then after we'd go to Tim Hortons. It's a thing in Canada. You go to Tim Hortons, you have coffee. I do go to Starbucks, so but we go to Timmy's. And we had a habit. Her husband was the one that started it. Actually, on the way to work one morning, they drove through Tim Hortons drive-through, and he paid for the guy behind him. Didn't say anything. Just when they went through with their order, they just drove off. So she was telling me this. We were coming from the gym one day, and we thought, oh, this is cool. So we started doing it like a couple of times a week. We once got kind of caught out because the people behind us had a whole passel of children, and it was like $30 for the order. But we said we were going to pay for it, so what can you do, right? But usually it was a coffee or maybe two coffees or what have you. But lots of people are doing it. And 2 years ago, now Jackie's been gone, for 5 years now. And 2 years ago, my son went to pick up some stuff at Tim Hortons. He comes through the drive-through, and the woman in front paid for him.
Oh, how cute.
I
That's
was like,
great.
wow, that's so cool.
It does. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. And it's become a thing here. People do it everywhere.
Hmm.
Or, they'll go into a fast food joint and drop $50 and just they buy whatever that pays for the next however long.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So there are things, and I like the fact that you kind of put a little challenge out there.
Yeah, well, and that's another reason I wrote the book, Social Media Mythbusters, is to inspire people to get over their resistance to social media and use it for social good.
Yes.
If you don't like what's going on online, do what you like online, and let's drown out the stuff that we don't like with positive energy. Put your positive quotes on there, cheer up other people, wish them happy birthday, tell them how wonderful they are. Go have what I call a love fest online. It'll make you feel good. It'll make your day, actually. If you go
Oh,
tell somebody else how awesome they are, just drop a note, tag them in a picture, tell them they're awesome.
yeah.
You know,
And the next time you're on a social channel or you're walking down the street, say hello and look somebody in the face and smile at them.
amazing. You can make somebody's day just by doing
Oh
that.
my God. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's cool because I want to meet everyone on the planet.
Woohoo. That's
Yes.
ambitious.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. My husband thinks it's weird because everywhere we go, we be walking down the beach in Florida and people come by with their headphones on and hello, hello. He goes, they can't hear you. I said, they feel it. They feel it.
They get it.
They get it. They get it. Well, God, the time has absolutely flown by, Laura. This has been absolutely phenomenal chatting with you. I know we kind of took a veer left, but I think all in all, that was really good. What I like to do at the end of the show, and this will never change, is I like to have my guest offer up one little tip or something that people can do in their business and or personal life that they can implement today. One
Hmm.
little thing that can help them with whatever.
Hmm. I would read, like, if you're going to go, a lot of my clients are now focusing on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and it's a great place to make connections. But if you don't have I want you to read your profile over. And if you feel like picking up the phone or reaching out with a message after you read that, that's great. If you don't, make a few tweaks. Tweak your headline, tweak your summary, tweak your job titles. Those three things, headline, summary, and job titles, to be more appealing. Like, what would you want to read if you were looking for someone like you?
Absolutely. And let me add one thing to that because I'm all about search. You can do that keeping in mind some of your keyword phrasing
And that's what
because
I was getting at.
yeah,
Yes.
people often know what you do or what they're looking for in someone. So by using that, that can certainly make you A, more findable, but B, much more attractive to somebody who's, say, looking for a social media strategist. And they would definitely look up Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a really good tip. I love the other things you've suggested people try. I really do believe in relationship marketing. Um, I have other friends who've written books as well, and part of the new mantra you've met Mark and Ted. Uh, they say more social, less media. So I think that's sort of a perfect ending to what we've said today because that's really what we're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here and um, bring my wisdom and have you draw it out of me.
Oh, and you've been phenomenal. And as I said, thank you everybody for listening. I'm Elaine Lindsay, True Social Media, your host here at Business Banter Plus TV. I'll make sure that we do have the appropriate links so you can go and get Laura's book. And I think there are some autograph books you said.
Yes, I will give you a link. So if people want to buy an autograph copy, I will make that available. I'd love to autograph that.
Oh, that's perfect. That's great. That's what I want to hear. Those links will of course be on businessbanterplus.com. And the replay is there for everyone as well. Make your day amazing. Thank you again. It's been Laura Rubinstein with me here today. And I'll see you again next week when my guest will be Jeffrey.